All right, I got a great idea for a story for you.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so you got a superhero that can control time, and then you got a supervillain that controls space. And when their powers combine, it creates the power of space-time, which then opens up alternate universes and parallel timelines.
All right, I have to say I'm impressed. That sounds like a very good concept. So what are these two going to be doing in this film?
The opportunities are endless, so I'm going to have them participate in a ping pong tournament.
Ping pong? Are you going to have them use their powers at all?
No, they don't use their powers at all. I mean, that would be cheating. This is a ping pong tournament. You have to respect the rules of the competition.
I'm sorry, do you think the audience will want to watch two superpowered people with the power to alter space-time itself play ping pong?
Yeah, that'll be exciting enough, I'm sure. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is NCIS Season 20, Episode 19, in the Spotlight. So you might notice it looks a little different. I decided to turn off the lamp behind me, and actually somehow looks better. There's more color now that the yellow light's not back there. It's kind of weird how that works. But anyways, I think we'll have to see if this works at nighttime as well, because right now I do have the sunlight coming in through the window. So if it's dark outside, maybe this won't work as well. At least during the daytime, it looks much better. But anyways, on to the review itself. So this episode, not that great for me. I honestly was worried about it, and ultimately, it was not bad in the way I thought it was going to be. I was really worried about where this episode was going to go. So to explain my thinking, when I first saw the title, when I first saw the description of the episode, I was really worried this was going to be this stupid subplot about Knight getting famous, the quick internet fame, and it going to her head, maybe Jimmy having to deal with it being her boyfriend, maybe somebody finds him, or maybe they see her and Torres out in the field, and so all this drama comes up about, oh, is that her boyfriend? And then Jimmy gets all... I was really worried about all the potential ways that they could take that storyline. What was weird is that they didn't do anything with it. And that's, I mean, it's kind of typical for the season, as I've said before, that they had the storyline and they just don't do anything with it. There are a couple of moments where people are looking at her, taking selfies and that stuff, but really it didn't affect the episode hardly at all. There was one moment whenever they're going to go in and take out this drug dealer, and she's told that she has to stay back because they need it to be kind of quieter, so they can't have a internet celebrity out and about with them. But that's about the only thing that they did in the main story with that. Everything else was just a couple of people making references to her, calling her Wonder Woman. That was it. So that was already kind of frustrating that we didn't even get any story with it. But then on top of that, the main story itself is just not really that interesting either. You know, the DEA using this woman to take down this drug cartel, and then she apparently gets found out. Her DEA handler gets shot. She crashes, trying to protect her, but then they get to her anyway. Now they're looking after her son, and the sub-story with Knight was more so about connecting with the son. And that was kind of her whole thing. And of course, by the end of it, they connect, because of course they do. Because that's what it was all leading to in the end, so why wouldn't they? So that was also just super predictable, as was the main story. Because they introduced this DEA agent that comes in to help with the case, and all I can think is he's the one that did it. I mean, they've already found out who the drug cartel kingpin is that they're going after. It's not going to be him. As far as plot twists, as far as, well, who the main bad guy is, most of the time in shows like this, it's somebody that we meet, and then we weren't expecting it to be them, and he was the only guy we met that it would have made sense for it to be like that. So sure enough, that's who it was. And it was just because he was working for the drug cartel, he killed Mateo, so that way he wouldn't point the finger at him. Case closed. It was just super predictable. And also it was very predictable that the kid's little hobby of mixing sounds together and picking up sounds, it was very predictable that that was going to come into play as well. Because it was so random that they would talk about that. And all I could think is, well, let me guess, there's going to be a point whenever they need to hear whatever on the recording thing, and we're going to find out that apparently the kid somehow picked it up. Don't know how, don't know why. Apparently he just, oh, this must be for me, and so he recorded it onto his thing, and that's how they managed to get the recording device information. So all of it was just super predictable. I knew exactly where it was going, basically about halfway through, almost. And like I said before, if you can predict where something is going with all the plot twists involved, it's not that fun. Like, it's one thing to guess where it's going. It's one thing to look at a story that you know is going to have a plot twist, or you suspect is going to have a plot twist. Look at it and go, I don't have any information, but I think it's them. I just have an inkling, or there's something about it that has just pushed me in that direction. When I watch this show, I go, it's them. And I know that's who it is.
because that's how this formula works. I know the NCIS formula at this point, and they don't ever change it. But I mean, whenever you get to season 20, I guess you could just look at it and say, well, what else are we supposed to do? We're creatively bankrupt at this point, so we can't change up this formula that's worked for 20 seasons or 19 seasons before now. Although, to be fair, can we say it's worked for 19 seasons? I would say it's probably worked more so for like maybe 10. And then since then, it's been sort of a run of the mill and pretty lackluster, in my opinion. So all in all, not a great episode. It was a little frustrating to get through at times. And while it wasn't bad in the way that I thought it was going to be, it was still bad in other ways. And that's just as frustrating for me. So with all that being said, though, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now episode 20, Second Opinion. This one was okay, I guess. It didn't piss me off in the way that I thought it was going to, similar to the last one. It didn't really do much by the end of it, unfortunately. Because obviously whenever you've got this sort of antagonistical character that gets brought in from a character's past, you know there's going to be some tension, you know there's going to be some frustrating moments throughout the episode, because of course there's going to be some conflict. And this one, I've seen this type of story before, you know, somebody who's achieved a lot of success while one of the main characters has not. They were both kind of vying to do the same thing. I think I'm happy with the fact that they kept it mostly serious. Like, they didn't have any goofy well, I say that, they did have the moment whenever Casey brings Jimmy in on the phone and she drops it in the body. That was stupid as hell. But I feel like the tension between Jimmy and Bauer was pretty normal, I would say. Bauer is pretty cocky. He's full of himself. He's done a lot of stuff, and he's gotten a really good career out of it. And so he does think he's really, really good at what he does. And ultimately, this guy tricked him, planted all this evidence, basically, to point him in the direction of one suspect, and he took it hook, line, and sinker. And of course, because of his jealousy of Jimmy, and because he thinks he's better than him, at this point in his life now, Jimmy stepping in and finding something else that disproves what he says is going to make him go, no, I'm right, you're wrong. It's pretty realistic. And of course, with the senator being very up in arms because it's her daughter that was killed, and then her aide killing the other girl to frame Vernon even further, it does make sense that she would try to get Jimmy removed because she wants the case solved and she thinks that Jimmy made a mistake. So a lot of it felt pretty realistic, even if it was frustrating to know that Jimmy more than likely was right at that point in time. I think the issue that I have is, once again, we get to the end and there's kind of a resolution, but not really. They have that moment whenever they sort of reconnect a little bit and Jimmy sort of realizes he's happy where he is, because even though he doesn't have the career that Miles does, he's got a good career here at NCIS. He's got a great group of friends. He had a wife and daughter that he met through this job, and now he's got Jess here. So it's a nice resolution in that sense, but for Miles, there's no real resolution there. You know, he just sort of acknowledges the fact that, yeah, Jimmy's good at what he does, and then sort of moves on. There's no realization from him that maybe I need to stop focusing so much on the success of the job. Maybe I need to actually start focusing on what I'm doing and try to perfect that and get better at that. There's none of that. There's no confirmation whether or not he actually did neglect telling Jimmy about the interview time. Maybe we find out that he did actually write it down, but then about halfway through he stopped himself because he was jealous, or maybe he came back later and saw that the note had been knocked off by a breeze or something like that. Just some sort of confirmation of, yes, he did do it, or no, he didn't. It was an accident. So that's what I mean when it didn't feel like there was a resolution as far as Miles is concerned. It's like it was more so about Jimmy figuring out that he was happy with his life, which I feel like should have been obvious from the start. You know, you look at what Miles has, and yeah, it's a lot of fame and fortune. As a lot of us know, fame and fortune is not everything. Does he have anybody in his life personally? Probably not. We didn't hear anything about a wife or girlfriend or any kids. Jimmy has had a wife, and he has a kid, and he's got Jess. Clearly, he's probably doing better for himself as far as just living life, even though he doesn't have all of this money. So it just feels like a lesson that I don't feel like Jimmy needed to learn. I feel like he should have already known about this. So that resolution doesn't really resonate, in my opinion. But outside of that, I mean, the case was fine, pretty straightforward. I'm also glad they didn't go the direction that I was worried they were going to. Because at one point, I think it was about halfway through, when they found the second body, and Miles was basically accusing Jimmy of getting it wrong, and this Vernon guy of going on a spree because of it. There was a part of me that was worried that it was going to be Miles that was doing this to get back at Jimmy. And I just felt like that would have been so dumb, considering the fame that Miles has. there'd be no reason for him to go after Jimmy. So I was really worried that that was the direction they were going to take, but thankfully they didn't. They also randomly threw in, and they do this sometimes, where they'll randomly talk about some internet sensation or something that was popular at the time or is popular or whatever, and they'll just make it a part of an episode, not have it connect to anything else, but just talk about it to be like, hey, we're recognizing that ASMR, that's a thing. It feels weird because it didn't play into anything outside of the fact that Vernon was watching her stuff and he was the one being framed. But it just felt weird that they brought it up out of just nowhere. And the shows like this do that, though. They just talk about, oh, this is a thing, by the way, and by acknowledging it, we're dating this, because who knows if it's going to stick around for a long time. I mean, it has been around for a while, but I don't feel like it's gotten popular until maybe the past few years. I don't feel like it's going to stay popular for that long. Anyways, 2 episodes left. We'll see if there's anything interesting in it. With all that being said, that's it for these 2 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 2? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future NCIS reviews. Also check out the channel. We have a lot of other reviews on there as well as some Let's Plays. So check those out if you have time. But until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. And I will talk to you all later. Peace out.